Well, let's just move on to another property that just riles us up, and let's talk about Karate Kid Legends, a movie we both got to see
Yeah, we
that we
did.
haven't reviewed yet.
Yeah.
Karate Kid Legends. Hey, big Karate Kid fans over here. Okay, big Cobra Kai fans.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
especially you, Al. Especially you.
you act
Not
like
that
you're not.
I like Karate Kid, but you love Karate Kid. That was what you grew up with more so than I
I
did.
did grow up with the movies.
Hmm.
Especially the first two,
Yeah. The,
which
the,
are
the great ones.
excellent. They're
Yeah,
excellent. Yeah, third one gets goofy, and then
it
Cobra
does.
Kai starts excellent, and then it gets goofy and fun.
Hmm.
But, uh, yeah, Karate Kid Legends. Without any spoilers, I think the little we've both kind of talked about is boy, if a movie ever needed another 30 minutes to just breathe, it's this
Hmm.
movie, man. It's this
Hmm.
movie. It went
It
in a lot of
flies.
interesting directions, and it's an
Yeah.
hour and a half. I noticed the runtime when I was waiting to get
Hmm.
my snacks. We're in line to get snacks. I was just kind of peeking at the ticket, checking the seats. I saw 1:32 or something. I was like, 1:32. I was prepared for a good two. Why is Mission Impossible and this not swapping run times here?
I
I
mean,
could have just watched him on the sub and the plane and been good.
even the original Karate Kid movie was 2 hours flat.
I know. I looked that
Yeah.
up, and the second one was also over 2 hours. And it's like,
Oh,
what?
really? Yeah.
What are we
Yeah.
doing here? What are we doing here,
And
man?
granted, it's not like Karate Kid is the most complex story, but the original does do a great job at telling like an underdog story, but letting it breathe so that way you can see the kid's journey to of what he's learning with karate and with his master, whose name I'm spacing on.
Mr.
Miyagi. Yep.
Miyagi. Come on,
Thank
put a
you.
little bit of respect on the
I know.
man's
I'm
name.
sorry. It was a bad brain fart on my part.
Yeah, this movie wanted to talk about paying homage. It started with paying homage. It does a couple little twists where it says, "Hey, we're gonna kind of take this story, we're gonna change a few things up," and I
Mhm.
really like that direction. But boy, it felt so crammed with so many stories because they just didn't let the characters do anything. Every time they got to a moment where it was like those moments you see in the trailer where it's like, one tree, two branches. It's like, boy, we got through that in about 25 seconds. Jeez Louise, they're flying. Some of
Right.
the scenes, this is where you can tell the editing's bad. You cut a lot out of your story because
Mhm.
you're jumping from scene to scene, and instead of feeling like I naturally got to this part of the movie, you feel like I've been brought to the movie, that I
Right.
wasn't along for the ride. I was forced to look at the ride. And it stinks because somewhere in here was a really good movie, I think. And it just kind of became a bland okay movie because it
Ugh,
just
yeah.
didn't breathe. But go ahead, chime in here, pal.
Well, it's like you said, like you can see the nuggets and seeds of potentially good ideas or potentially strong character relationship moments. And then as soon as you get inklings of those, it just decides to go to the next scene and grinds it to a halt. And then you're starting the pattern all over again.
Yeah.
Yes, it is bad editing all around, but at the same time, I also wonder just how much worse like the original edit of this movie was. Like, was it really like not strong enough to let things flesh out and breathe that it needed to be chopped down that much? Um, so yeah, like you said, it was just very frustrating to see like obviously a story that works so well. We've seen it 5 times in 6 seasons of a show. Like you can
Yeah.
do it obviously, but man, it just at times it felt like the movie was embarrassed of itself, and it really didn't need to. Like, would it have become like the best Karate Kid movie, or would it have been like a strong entry in this franchise all around? Probably not, but there still is like good things about it. The lead actor,
Very good.
Juan, I believe his name is. Yeah, he does a very good job. Jackie Chan, very different from compared to the Jaden Smith version, but he's fine. Like he's very entertained in the role. And the supporting cast is fine too. I thought action sequences wise, maybe a bit too quick of edits in some moments, but otherwise it's strong. Like it's
Yeah, I think the
enjoyable.
fight scenes were solid, and I think they
Yeah.
wanted to. It felt like the director was suddenly getting to make the movie he wanted when they got to the burrows fighting and the kind of
Hmm.
montages there, and it was like, all right, he's
I
finally getting to have a little fun with this franchise, and then The
And
movie's
even
over.
and even like the setting of it being in New York, I thought it was actually filmed pretty strongly. Like it felt like you were on the street level of like these different parts of New York, and you were feeling like what it was like living there, you know. But just the story itself just wasn't strong. But like a bit of the cinematography and a bit of like letting the settings itself like speak for themselves if it's its own character, I thought was good. Like there was stuff there to it that I appreciated. But all in all, it just felt like a movie that was embarrassed of its existence. It just felt bland, not very strong story wise. But again, maybe that's editing. But I don't know. It was very odd watching this movie.
Yeah, and here's the thing that wigs me out the most, and I noticed it when the movie ended, when the credits were rolling,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw executive producer Ralph Macchio, and then I sit
Mm-hmm.
back and I start thinking about how we've been watching Cobra Kai since like 2013, 14 or whatever, 15 when it started coming out. And over the years, it was interview after interview with Ralph Macchio. Why suddenly are you back? And constantly in interviews. I mean, for years, I've seen him in interviews talk about scripts have come my way, and I've always said no because it felt like they weren't getting what this story needed. And then
Mm-hmm.
he finally was like, and then they came to me with Cobra Kai, and I was like, okay, these guys really get it. And then the show is very good. It does get a little hokey at times,
Yeah.
and maybe a little CW, but still, at the end of the day, ends up being a fairly good show, like a good show. And the fact that he is an executive producer and he signed off on everything that this movie did shocked me. I was like, Ralph, you've been spending you refused to do it for decades. You finally do Cobra Kai. It's a loved show. It bounces from networks or from YouTube to Netflix. Netflix backs you. You're getting the views. You're like, let's do a movie. Sony says, come on, let's do a movie. You actively say, no, 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 no. We're not going to bring the guys who are making Karate Kid popular again on. We're not going to bring them and involve them at all. Let's get a whole new team. I'm going to do it. And this
Mm.
is what you bring out? Come on, man. Like, what are we doing here?
I wonder if maybe the script was good and then it just got in the way. I don't know. But I wonder if it's executive producer money. I do wonder if money played a role in him agreeing to it and he got producing credit and it just was a bigger paycheck and he agreed to it.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
maybe.
like saying that, but
It's very possible.
it's
It's very
possible.
possible.
Unfortunately, yeah, I don't
But
know.
I don't know. I feel like I saw him in a couple interviews. I think he had more power and say in this movie, but it also could have been Sony. Sony could have came in and said that we don't like the way this movie is at 225. We're going to cut it down to 130 and maybe that's what they chose to do, but
But it's wild that you just cut it down so short
it
instead of
really is.
traditional instead of like a usual 2 hour cut. I don't know. I don't know what went on behind the scenes. I think yeah, just a very odd all around of this movie. So yeah, I was very disappointed by it. I also
And
wanted to bring. Oh,
bring it
you
up.
do you
No,
want?
no, no, you bring it up. Bring it up.
I wanted to discuss about this movie being rated PG-13 because
Oh yeah,
I
this
don't
I don't
see it.
care about. Kyle's just being a wacko. I don't
I
care about
I
this
look
argument.
I just think for it being rated PG-13, it was a very tame movie that easily could have been PG rated. I think it just speaks volumes of how frustrating the film rating system is. Granted, it's not like you have to abide by the film rating system for whoever you are as an audience member, but I just think that it's odd that we have gone so far away from like the G rating to Despicable Me movies being rated PG to like the most tamest of action movies such as this being rated PG-13. Well, I just think whoever is in charge of like the film rating system really needs to like get a reality check because this is just weird to me. I just don't understand like the logic behind some of these choices. And Karate Kid is like a very good example of this. I don't understand how this is PG-13. I think it's weird. I think it's weird what's going on with the film rate system, but maybe that's just
uh,
me. I don't know.
yeah, no, that
Maybe
is just you. That's yeah. There's kids fighting in the streets, punching the crap out of each other. That's going to be a 13 and up kind of move there, pal.
was it really that hardcore? It really didn't seem like it was
I don't
that.
think hardcore is the point. They're fighting.
Okay, but like, I
Would
don't
you call
know. I
Marvel hardcore fighting?
maybe more than this. I don't know. I just was watching this movie and I was like, I don't see anything where like a 10, 11, 12 year old couldn't have watched this movie.
So
I don't know.
I
I
pulled
guess
up
I'm crazy. I don't know. I just
when
didn't get it.
when you
I don't know.
watch enough movies, you truly can start to tell. When you want to actively like understand filmmaking and stuff, you can
Mm-hmm.
tell when editing does kind of become a problem, right? And it might not
Sure.
be necessarily the editor's fault. It a lot of the times can be, but a lot of the times
Mm.
the editor doesn't have final say in actually what the edit is going to be. It is the director, the producers behind them going, no, 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 we don't want that. Take that out. And the editor might be fighting them for their lives to keep a couple great scenes in. And an editor can save a movie. But I pulled up the editor, the main editor, Dana, and this is no shade on her because I'm looking at her credits and there's just some crazy stuff here, and I just think it's interesting. But she edited Juno, awesome. Up in
Okay.
the Air, awesome.
Yeah, that's a good one.
No Strings Attached, awesome. And now
Mhm.
this is what made me have to share this. Draft Day, Kyle's
Which is
number
a
one
perfect
film of
movie.
all time.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you get up to Creed 2, and you're like, okay. And then you get to The
Good.
Mandalorian, and you're like, I like Mando.
Yeah,
And
that's
you get to
good. It's good.
Ghostbusters Afterlife, and you're like, all right. And then you get to the Book of
Editing wasn't the
Boba
problem.
Fett, and then you're like, Dana, what are you
De-
doing?
depends on the episode. We don't know what episode she did.
I feel like I feel no, she did the series. No, it does
Just the
say one
whole.
episode. She edited one episode.
Okay,
Oh God, was it the Spinny Guy episode? That'd be so funny. Um,
that would be kind of funny.
and then she did Ahsoka, so she's really in the Disney family, and then Karate Kid Legends. And this is no shade on her. I mean, Up in the Air is a great
It's a
movie.
banger,
Juno's a great movie. Ahsoka, I think, was very good. Creed
but it's
2's
like
awesome.
it's
Draft
like
Day.
writing. It's like
Yeah,
writing credentials. Like anyone can have a bad day at the office. Like it's hard to like find a
100%.
track record that's 100%. At least I think so. Like I think
No, I
directors you
agree.
can find better track records or worse track records compared to editing or writing. Like
Yeah.
it's
Oh
just
yeah. Every great has something that's a little bit funky. Even
yeah, yeah,
even some of the greats.
yeah. No, yeah, you're right.
But yeah, yeah, needed maybe a smidge more time in the old edit. I would like if
For
they came
sure.
out and said the Blu-rays got a 2.5 hour director cut. I'm probably buying the Blu-ray because I just want to see what that Karate Kid movie is.
Okay, maybe I'll rent it.
Support
I
physical
don't.
media, you shill.
I don't. Not for that one. Not for that one.
Shill. All right, let's let me check the old docket here. I always got to pull it up. Let's